Have you ever wanted to say no, but felt your chest tighten, your mind panic, and somehow the word yes came out instead? This video is about why saying no feels wrong, why setting boundaries triggers guilt and fear, and what psychology reveals about the hidden forces controlling that reaction. If you want to understand human behavior at a deeper level, subscribe to Human Smart Axes, because we break down the psychology most people never question. Let's start with something important. The anxiety you feel when saying no isn't weakness, and it isn't a personality flaw. It's biological. When you imagine disappointing someone, your brain doesn't treat it like a mild social risk. Your amygdala, the part of the brain responsible for detecting danger, interprets potential rejection as a threat. Heart rate rises. Muscles tense. Fight or flight activates. And for many people, the safest option feels like compliance. This is why people-pleasing isn't about kindness, it's about safety. Your brain learned long ago that staying accepted meant staying alive. So when you say yes against your own needs, your nervous system is often trying to protect you. The problem is, what once kept you safe now quietly drains you. But why does guilt feel so intense? For many people, it starts early. Childhood conditioning often links love with compliance. Being good meant being agreeable, helpful, and easy. Over time, the brain writes a rule: if I am inconvenient, I am unsafe. So when you try to set a boundary as an adult, it triggers an old script. On one side, you want to protect your time and energy. On the other, you fear being seen as selfish, difficult, or unkind. That internal conflict creates guilt even when your boundary is reasonable. Here's what rarely gets talked about: every dishonest yes creates something called resentment debt. In the moment, you avoid discomfort. But later, that emotional cost shows up as irritation, withdrawal, or emotional distance. Research in relationship psychology shows resentment is far more damaging to long-term connection than a momentary no. Boundaries don't harm relationships, they prevent slow emotional decay. This is where many people misunderstand boundaries. A boundary is not a wall. A wall shuts people out. A boundary simply shows where the door is. Think of it like a property line. It doesn't mean you hate your neighbors. It defines responsibility. Without boundaries, you start carrying emotional responsibility for other people's feelings, and that leads directly to burnout. Empathy plays a role here too. Empathy is a strength, but hyperempathy can blur the line between you and others. When someone is disappointed, you feel it as your own pain. This emotional enmeshment makes saying no feel like self-harm. The psychological skill needed here is differentiation, the ability to stay connected without absorbing someone else's emotions. You can care without carrying. Now here's something crucial to understand before you start setting boundaries: expect resistance. When you change a pattern, people often push back. Not because they're bad, but because the system has changed. In behavioral psychology, this reaction is called an extinction burst. The guilt-tripping, frustration, or pressure may spike temporarily before it fades. Knowing this ahead of time helps you stay steady instead of backing down. Quick pause: have you subscribed to Human Smart Axes or not? If this perspective is helping you rethink relationships and self-respect, subscribing keeps you connected to ideas that protect your mental health. Let's reframe what no actually means. Saying no isn't rejecting a person, it's choosing a priority. No to an extra obligation is yes to rest. No to a draining interaction is yes to showing up fully later. This is the concept of the positive no. Every no protects something that matters. When you see it this way, guilt begins to lose its grip. But insight alone isn't enough. You can't think your way out of this fear, you have to act your way out. One effective approach is rejection exposure. Start small. Decline a receipt. Ask for a different seat. Say no where the stakes are low. Each small act teaches your nervous system that disappointment is survivable. Over time, your tolerance for discomfort grows and boundaries become easier. When you do say no, clarity matters more than coldness. A compassionate boundary follows a simple structure: acknowledge the request, state the limit, and optionally offer an alternative. For example, I can't do that right now, but I appreciate you asking. You're not over-explaining. You're not apologizing for existing. You're being clear, and clarity is respectful. Here's the truth most people don't realize: boundaries create trust. When people know you can say no, your yes becomes meaningful. A relationship without boundaries is built on compliance. A relationship with boundaries is built on choice. And choice is the foundation of respect. So let me ask you this. How many times have you said yes when your body was begging you to say no? If this video resonated with you, subscribe to Human Smart Axis, like the video, share it with someone who struggles with boundaries, and comment below what situation makes it hardest for you to say no. Because protecting your energy isn't selfish. It's psychological survival and self-respect.